Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today. So my name is Dave Miller. I'm the president here at eMAM, and we're very excited to share kind of high-level overview of how we work with AWS to help organizations produce and share media. And we're going to be recording today's session. If you have any questions during the presentation, you put them in the chat and we'll try to answer them at the end, or if we get a chance during the middle. And we will be recording today's session, so let us know if you'd like a recording. Yeah, so we can just jump in and get started. So let me introduce my colleague, Chuck Bulow. He's our VP of Business Development, and he'll be presenting today how we work together with AWS. So with no further ado, I'll turn it over to Chuck. Thanks so much for joining us today.
All right, thanks, Dave. Yeah, so we're going to talk about producing content, sharing content with media stored up in the cloud, and then using the combined technology from eMAM and AWS, being able to provide that content, share it with pretty much anywhere around the world, and making it easy to kind of centralize media, share that content, produce content, and also distribute content as well. So pretty much everything moves to the cloud, or there's combinations we're going to talk about or share some ideas on kind of how to do hybrid types situations and different types of configurations that are possible, but then how easy it is also to launch a system in AWS using eMAM and the platform and the marketplace that AWS offers. So kind of go through this real quickly. And kind of going through, first off, kind of the changing environment that we have today with COVID. Things have changed quite a bit. It changed IT and corporate being able to kind of think together, coming up with contingency plans and various things where users and remote editors, producers, anybody producing content, things like that, or even in the corporate market, educational market, everything became remote. So everybody's now out and about using home or internet wherever they can find it and so on. And then trying to connect to an on-prem system has been difficult. So many of our clients have talked to us about, how do we better, perform or put a better environment together to be able to make that an easy process. And then giving accessibility to not only our internal users, but then maybe clients and so on to be able to access that media. So it's been a big challenge over the last year and a half, kind of going through all that and kind of trying to figure that all out. But we'll show you kind of how eMAM and AWS have been able to kind of ease that pain as well. So, with the cloud, again, this kind of pushed into the conversation now with organizations and how they migrate existing platforms. So taking whatever they have, whatever media they have, whatever environments that they have, network, security, and various things, and how do we take that up to the cloud? And kind of discussing that a little bit, trying to figure out what is the best way, and then how can we get help to be able to do that, and through AWS and eMAM, again, of course, we can help you with that process. But the other thing too is, there's a lot of variables now in cloud environments. So, video storage, processing, editing, CPU power usage, moving assets up and down and so on. How do we budget all those kind of things? And through AWS, again, having tools and so on, and being able to manage budgets and things actually become very, very easy, and actually a little bit more organized than normally buying hardware equipment and storing locally as well. And then, of course, all the new services that are available as well through AI technology with media, being able to, tag media automatically with facial recognition, speech to text and things. We'll talk about that a little bit. But a number of other cloud tools that are available to us, as well as other platforms, other vendors, other technology sources that we can use in a combined solution is pretty unique. And before, it became very, very tough to do that, because then you're having to actually package up multiple software platforms, different technologies and so on, and trying to get them all to work together. Whereas within the cloud, it actually helps you a little bit to kind of piece all those things together and make them all work well together. And with those tools and so on, AWS has done a fantastic job of kind of pulling all the technologies together and then being able to put that in as one combined solution. And then, of course, with eMAM as well, adding to those tools for managing media and so on. So some of the challenges that most IT folks and executives and corporate execs have, disconnecting from your local system. Everybody was so used to having a big server room, paying for all that room and air conditioning and servers that they had to keep updates and things like that. But, disconnecting that is very difficult for a lot of companies and so on. And IT departments kind of figuring out, well, where do I fit in all of this, and how do we keep that security and things like that. So that's really one of the big challenges. Also, moving all that media, depending on the customer and so on. If we're only talking about megabytes or gigabytes or terabytes and so on, not too bad. When we get into the petabyte size, there's a lot of anxiety in that, moving that media and how long it takes to get to the storage, and of course all the expense of moving that content and storing that content in the cloud as well. A lot of anxiety there. And then, how expensive is it to kind of leave this technology and so on. But leaving what you've been buying over a period of time, and then of course moving up to the cloud, and then being able to be flexible and control your expenses and things like that. And is it easy just to get out of if it's not working for you or not? But the cloud offers you a lot of flexibility in that, where we can add more storage quite quickly, we can add more CPU, or we can take away CPU power at a moment's notice. And so on, because it actually becomes a lot more flexible than having to buy CPUs and more servers, more storage capabilities locally as well. So Dave likes this guy, and I actually like these comments here as well from Buckminster Minster Fuller, 20th century inventor and visionary guy. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. So if you've got a situation in the cloud and COVID and everybody's remote, don't fight it. To change something, to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete has pretty much been explored and proven in this case when kind of looking at the cloud environment, being able to say, how do I move things, change things, but then also maintain what I've always had, which is that security level of all my content and my services and connecting people to our systems and so on. That has been proven that it is possible to do these things well within the cloud. So again, through eMAM Cloud, which we'll talk about today, and then of course all the power from AWS, we've been able to centralize the storage of content storage, processing, creation, distribution operations, and so on. To the ground in the cloud and the media supply chain, archive solutions, purpose of built, cost optimization as well, being able to optimize then the cost of managing all these servers and storage and so on, and then pulling in all the different resources that are needed, but then also reducing the amount of resources that may not be needed at certain points of time. And then, of course, being able to collaborate with everybody in the cloud. This is also pointed out to a lot of our customers that they have the ability now to share and collaborate with content no matter where their people are or their clients are either. So giving you a lot of flexibility in collaboration, storage, centralizing, or even spreading out that technology across the world, and being able to then connect everything quite easily through secure networks and connections through the AWS platform has made things quite easy, and offered a lot more flexibility to a lot of our clients as well. So when we came about with all of this, and by the way, we've been in the cloud environment for the last 8 to 10 years, working with eMAM and managing media and storing media and archiving media and things like that. We all sat down a couple of years ago and said, how do we build a better mousetrap here that's more efficient, and affordable as well? Because a lot of things, in the industry, I've been in with the eMAM for over 8 years now, And when we first started out kind of selling the product and so on, with all the different servers that are, the cost of servers and the storage and everything else, the actual entry into the eMAM system was quite expensive, or has been quite expensive. And using the computing power and so on and flexibility that you have with the cloud, the entry level is very, very small now and gives you a lot more flexibility. So we'll kind of go through that here in the presentation. So those of you who don't know eMAM, so we're a media asset management software company. We manage pretty much any type of media, from PowerPoints to documents to 8K, 4K, however many Ks there are these days in video, images, audio files, and so on. Even live content as well now. So, excuse me. So with this, you're able to, even take in live streams, move those files up to the cloud, let's say, and then of course manage and organize all this media in what we call categories. And in those categories with permissions, who gets to see what they can do with that content, and then also be able to use, say, Adobe Premiere and the Creative Suite to be able to produce content, images, videos, audio files, full production value, all from the cloud as well. Review and approve, collaboration, distribution, and then of course archive. And we'll talk about archive and also storage and things like that. But the ability and the flexibility that cloud and eMAM offer, being able to then store content and manage content not only in the cloud but also locally as well. So we'll kind of go through and talk about that. So from the simplest form, most of our clients took eMAM and used it as a place to archive and safely store media for search, retrieval, preview, being able to allow staff to be able to find the content, with permissions and so on, and manage all their content. That was really our forte, and it's carried on into the cloud environment as well. But the idea really is to take all the media. A lot of our clients actually just take their media, organize it in their departments and so on. Each department then has accessibility to specific content, be able to preview that content, share that content, download it, send preview links and things like that to the proxies and so on, but really share that. But in its simplest form, being able to just manage content and put it up there. And then of course also collaborate on that content. So, if you're just looking at content that's being produced, want to share it, get everybody's ideas before it goes out to social media or whatnot, you can all collaborate with that, add comments, markers, annotations, things like that, all within the eMAM platform. You can create simple timelines as well, being able to kind of share a timeline and say, this rough cut, is this look good, and things like that, or just very simple stuff, corporate media, educational media as well, being able to share and collaborate with that content as well. So kind of here's how the platform works. So again, typically most people were buying servers, putting it in their server room and buying the servers, buying the storage and things like that. In this case here, through what we're going to talk about, eMAM Cloud and AWS Marketplace, being able to just launch a system up in the cloud. And so the servers are set up, storage is set up, the basic environment that you have for eMAM, and you can then go in and customize it. But all of your users then are remote and being able to tie into the eMAM system with credentials. So you can go in and set up your credentials, Active Directory, single sign-on, those kind of things. Share that content, preview the content, edit the content if you'd like, and so on, or just store it up there for later use and then be able to search and find that content. But quite easily, they just connect to the system, log in, and then be able to find that content or upload that content from pretty much anywhere. And then of course they have, if they're given permission, to be able to download it as well. Now, we also pride ourselves on being very, very flexible. So every client that we have is very different. So each one, what we wanted to do is actually have a platform that is available. You turn it on, it's got the base setup and configuration and so on, but be able to then offer different flexibility, setups and configurations for our clients. We had some that just said, look, I'm not going to go into the cloud, but I do want to use cloud proxies to be able to store there and have outside users be able to preview that content. And so that gives the ability to say, I'm going to store my originals locally, I'm going to manage the eMAM system locally, but I'm going to take the proxies and put a copy in the cloud. And when people log into the system and they preview the proxy, they can actually preview it directly from the cloud rather than coming all the way in through your firewall and then going into the local servers and previewing the content. So again, adding flexibility to that. We also have, and we'll show this here in a second in a diagram, but hybrid cloud, where we put the base unit up in the cloud and then have what we call app nodes or local services running to manage local content and local archives as well. So some of our clients wanted to keep everything local, put the proxies in the cloud, but put the eMAM system in the cloud with the metadata, the database, and everything else all stored up in the cloud. Proxies could be local, proxies could be at each multiple locations, but then being able to manage the entire system from the cloud, but also manage media locally here. And the great thing about this system is it's component based, so we can actually then add any components to the license as you grow. So you can start small and kind of grow big from there, which is quite nice. Now, with AWS and also eMAM in combination, we give you a lot more tools that are possible to add to your system. So, as again, I was talking about like local content or cloud content that you can store and support it there. Stock footage. We have with Shutterstock, we have a great connection with them where you can actually go into Shutterstock, find content and have it automatically be available inside the eMAM system. We can archive all your footage and so on locally or also in the cloud as well. Integrate with any competing products and things like that that are out there. AI services, different types of technologies that's out there. We can actually integrate then within the eMAM system, be able to connect with different storage platforms, different archive systems as well. So a lot of flexibility in that. And again, store locally or in the cloud, that's up to you. And we can configure profiles to say, take this content, put it in the cloud, and take this other content and maybe store it locally. So again, a lot of flexibility there. As I mentioned about collaborative production, this is really nice where I can actually manage, say, a Premiere project all from the cloud with remote editors anywhere around the world. So I could be uploading content, put my project up there, and then share it with somebody to maybe have them work on After Effects or InDesign or not InDesign, but maybe Photoshop. But being able to add to the production and so on. But we can all talk through the eMAM system and collaborate on that. Live captures, I mentioned, and live edit. This is really nice where we've had clients. Our largest one right now has about 18, excuse me, 18 channels running into the system, and they actually edit the content as it's coming in. And so we have kind of a chase edit capability in the eMAM system where it could be a live stream going to the cloud or captured locally, and then being able to edit that content as it's coming in and maybe even send out to social media for highlights on sporting events or corporate events and things like that. We can then share that content live and live edits as well. The interface itself is very intuitive, so non-technical users can kind of piece together their own little videos if they'd like, or just share content quite easily. And then, of course, we do have news and broadcast integration where people are actually using news in the news configuration would be like reporters doing a rundown. And broadcasters being full distribution, segmentation, and so on off to a broadcast environment for play out. So that hybrid mode kind of looks like this, where we have the eMAM base system up in the cloud that you can start, and then you can add what we call app nodes, and these are just local servers that are connected to your storage or your archive locations and so on. Local users can then store media locally, keep the originals there, and maybe connect with the eMAM system in the cloud to pass along, say, proxies and metadata as well. So local users can connect with the local system and local media and start editing and so on. But the cool thing about this is if you have original media stored locally in one or multiple locations with permissions, all users can then see that content no matter where it's stored. So a remote editor could actually then tie in and look at proxy, maybe do a proxy edit first, look at content from location 1, 3, or 5, or 10, or whatever, and then be able to edit that content if they are given permission to access that media. So this is where that flexibility comes in. And then you can also go in and then share and collaborate on that media, with users, with clients, and so on, internal or external to the system. And using the cloud environment gives you that flexibility and that security as well. Again, with AWS security levels and with eMAM, we're working with AWS all the time on setting those different security levels, and be able to control and who gets access to your media and what they can do. So again, a lot of technology built into the AWS platform. That goes also into the media intelligence, and then automated tagging, monetization of content, streamlining all your production, being able to then use a lot of different services that AWS has with all that content. And we're also, very proud to be a part of the AWS Technology Partner Group, and the media intelligence launch with artificial intelligence, as well as machine learning. So a lot of companies looking at tagging content coming in. It could be a golf match, or any kind of soccer or football event, and so on, being able to tag automatically that content that's going in, being able to pull together quick highlights and things like that, and then send that off to VOD sites and monetization sites as well. And so within the eMAM system, we utilize recognition from AWS as an example, where I can take a golf match here, Roy McIlroy, being able to find where he's at in every one of the shots of the video, look him up, click on it, and then also get speech to text content, annotations, branding, various things from all the different AI services that are available. And so this all becomes very simple and easy to package up and then deliver. Now, so there's a couple of choices in this case here for eMAM and AWS and in this service model. So again, the idea really here is to provide a service to you that gives you the ability to go full service and have somebody completely set it up for you. You go in, you plug all your choices in, how much storage you want, how many users you want, and what feature sets you want, and you hit go. And basically that full service model completely sets up the system for you. In about less than 20 minutes or so, you're going to get an email. Here's how you connect. Your admin goes in, sets up all the different metadata fields and various things, and away you go. So that's kind of the full service method, and that's called our SaaS model. And if you move over to the right there, PaaS model, this allows you to implement and install an eMAM system on your AWS platform. So we give you recommendations on the hardware that's required, the EC2 servers, the storage, turning on all the, if you wanted to go ahead on your platform to turn on AI services, what storage, what archive systems, and so on. It's kind of like build your own way. So with the PaaS model, the eMAM software is going to be available to then be able to deploy on your platform that you set up under your environment, under AWS, your AWS account. So two different models on that. Again, we keep it simple. You have an option going to, and we're going to show you how this is done and how you set it up and get it started. But we want to keep it simple. So you kind of decide, do I want a full service one or do I want a PaaS one? And then be able to go in and set this up within about 20 minutes or so. Under PaaS, you're setting it up on your own environment, and SaaS, again, that's a full service model where we set it up for you as well. So how this goes is, going to emamcloud.com, you can go there, or you can go directly to the AWS marketplace. Basically you go in under eMAM Cloud, you look at the different services that are available, and then click sign up. And what will happen is that you'll go through the different choices here. So if I'm going to go the full service model off to the left there on the SaaS model, that again is where we set it up for you. Have your own system, your own storage locations, but everything is managed by eMAM. And so all you have to do is log in each day. If there's any issues, you go ahead and click on our support line, email them, and then click on it, and we change or correct any kind of issues and so on. But we completely manage that service for you. On the left hand or the right hand side there, the platform for PaaS, that is where we will allow you to install the eMAM system, but the actual platform is what you bring to the table from AWS. So you go into your account, you'll be setting up EC2 servers and storage and all the different services from AWS on the PaaS model under your account and so on. On the SaaS model, it's still under your account, or you can buy directly from the eMAM system or eMAM cloud software or cloud website for it. So now under SaaS, you've got a couple of choices. Preserve, which is typically just for archiving and sharing and collaboration. So those are, on the far left hand side there, Preserve service, going through and saying, I'm just going to archive media, put it up there, share with so on, with internal folks, use the AI tagging, use proxies, share links to the proxy views, and so on. So that's typically what people will start with. You can then move over in the middle there, which is a creative service, and this is where you can do full production, start tying in Adobe Premiere and Adobe Suite products, where you can start doing production. You can do AI tagging, everything that you do in the archive side, but you can also then do full production and distribution of different items that you're going to be producing there. On the far right there, we also have the ability to customize the system. And that's what we were talking about earlier in that hybrid mode configuration or various other types of configurations that don't fit the two molds here. We can then go ahead and, of course, customize that for you as well. Under the PaaS model, this is where you're bringing the hardware technology to it, but then also with that, being able to then go in and actually set up the archive platform or the production platform, and then being able to load up the software specifically on your local platform, under AWS and so on, and then either you're archiving or you're producing, and then again also we have that custom use as well there. So one of our key success stories that we have, on cloud and kind of giving you an idea of what can happen. Spectrum Reach came to us and said, look, we've got 200 editors, we've got 200 photographers out in the field, we're doing 30-second spots and so on. How do we collect all this media, get it and make it available to others without having to ship drives and so on, and be able to review the content and share it? And so what we did was we came together with eMAM Cloud and an Adobe and an AWS solution to be able to centralize the eMAM system and then centralize the storage, the media, production, project management, task management. They have a task management software. They use Salesforce and various things, that they can share content and review content, set up projects and assign people to them and so on. But everything for Spectrum Reach is actually done in the cloud. And managed completely up in the cloud as well. So real good success story for us there. These are some of our other eMAM customers. A couple of cloud customers there. Berkeley and Loyola Marymount have moved pretty much all their media. In Berkeley's case, they actually moved the entire eMAM system to the cloud. Loyola Marymount, they actually moved just their storage and archive up to the cloud as well. CBN doing full production on the system there. Yes TV doing live capture in full production, and then broadcast and social media distribution. Preferred Media is one of our largest customers with storage of millions and millions and millions of assets and so on, storage for their clients that they archive and then make available as well. Legislation of Ontario, they actually do live encodes as well. BN Sports, for example, they do scoreboard, metadata, and then put it into the eMAM system for searching. And of course, Colgate, one of our larger customers as well, they actually then store and share all their marketing information all through the eMAM system. So with that, I think we're at the end here. Dave or John, do we want to kind of look at some of the questions we possibly have there.
Sure. Yeah, we'll look at the questions. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. So, and things are certainly changing, so we'll look forward to trade shows and other events coming up in the near future. We'll be doing NAB in October, and IBC in December, and some others are tentative. One of the questions, so what's been the effect of COVID on our, on our company and on our customers?
Yeah, so the very first thing was we had customers who had an on-prem system, and trying to work it to where we allow their users to connect with that eMAM system and be able to share that content, and then also maybe even use some cloud environments, for storage, for sharing content and things like that. So a lot of things where we reconfigured their system to be able to support that. And then of course now most of the new systems that we're looking at are all cloud-based and moving to the cloud, and very little on locally. Some are actually storing locally, but they use that app server to store things locally. But for the most part, their remote users are being able to access the media all through the cloud environment. And in one statistics on that, I heard that here in the US, that about 65% of the users for corporations probably will not be going back to work. They'll be going and staying remote, or only part-time remote as well. So again, that kind of leads more people towards a cloud environment.
Sorry, I went to mute. And then another question is, so working with Amazon, which kind of tools and things are we leveraging with Amazon?
Yeah, with Amazon, the very first thing, I don't want to get too technical on this, but Lambda technology, where we're kind of controlling the processing of media. They're transcoding media converts and so on, using transcoding to create original content, and being able to create proxies, thumbnails, various things like that. AI technology has been in high demand here in the last 6 months to a year, where we're doing speech to text and facial recognition and learn systems. S3 storage has become very dynamic. So you're able to kind of move, and with eMAM, with that technology, being able to move from tier 1 to tier 2 to deep archive kind of a situation, where we can kind of manage different storage levels, but also your pricing as well. So you can put it into production, easy access, very easy and high availability access, or you can go into mid-level archive storage at a lower cost, and then into deep archive, where it may take a little bit time to restore and bring that back as well. So the other key things for us has been security. With security, working with them and going through all their different, processes to, kind of make sure our security levels are up to date and so on. That's an ongoing thing with AWS as well.
Great, yeah, and obviously S3 and Glacier and other kinds of storage they offer. I mean, not in the basic system, but NICE and other tools they have. I mean, we continue to add to it, and obviously a key part of the marketplace offering is CloudFormation templates, where it spins up a system and launches it right away. Great. Any other questions? If not, you can contact us, and we've recorded today's session. We can happy to share that with you, and our website's eMAM Cloud and eMAM Solutions and AWS Marketplace. You can find out more about us. If there are no other questions, thanks for your interest today, and we look forward to talking to you hopefully soon, either online or soon enough in person. Have a great day. Thank you.
Learn more at emamcloud.com and emamsolutions.com.